What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Leading Off, the Fantasy Pros Baseball Podcast. We are presented by Bet365. You bet $5, get 150 in bonus bets when you use that promo code Leading Off. That is with our friends over at Bet365. It is Joe Rico and Casey Bubba coming at you once again here. A couple of full weeks of Joe and Bubba. Lots of fun getting to talk with you every day, my friend. How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's a Friday, heading into another weekend, and we're getting so close to the end of this season that it's fun. But we got Rocker last night, DeGrom tonight. We got some fun things still going on around baseball.
Oh, yeah. We are going to start off with Kumar Rocker for sure. We got a fun show sheet today. I've added in some playoff prep. We're going to talk about some fringier two-start pitchers who are on the bubble a little bit. And I've also highlighted 5 really hot hitters that we're going to discuss, as well as the usual to-dos here on the show. But if you guys have any questions, should have some time later on. If you guys have any questions about next week or this weekend or anything, even 2025 drafts, whatever you got, throw them into the chat. And Bubba and I should have some time to get to them. But let's start off like with what you mentioned there, Bubba. Kumar Rocker. I'm not sure if you were watching this one. I had the 2 screens of Thursday Night Football, and I had the Kumar Rocker start going on. And the first couple batters got hits against him, and you're thinking, what's going to happen here? And then he just settled in and looked dominant. I mean, I heard comparisons to Jose Fernandez yesterday. I saw people saying that his slider is an 80 grade pitch. I think that he has the potential to be a game changer if he stays healthy. He looks dominant. What were your thoughts, Bubba, on Kumar Rocker's MLB debut?
Again, watched the highlights of it, and it was pretty darn impressive. The 7 Ks, the 23% swinging strike rate, the slider was just pure domination. He looked great. So I'm hoping we get more Kumar for the rest of the season. That's still up for grabs on what the Rangers are doing there with the rotation. But I love what we saw. Kid is legit, and it's good to see him finally getting his after all the injuries and everything else after he left Vanderbilt.
Harry say projected first round 2025. No, he won't go in the first round.
No.
But if we see 2 or 3, well, how many? There's only potential for maybe 3 more starts, probably 2, maybe 3. If he looks dominant in all those starts, what's the highest you think we could see Kumar getting pushed up draft boards, Bubba? 3rd, 4th, 5th round? What's your initial thought there?
I would hope 5th round. There's always a crazy person out there that'll go 3rd round or something. But, a couple starts is nice. We know the pedigree is good, but there's still, to me, a lot of questions surrounding Kumar Rocker. So I would hope he's like around a pick 1, like an SP3 at least an SP3 is what I'd hope for. But he's got the ceiling to be more. I will admit that.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Like there's the first round is so deep. Like we've talked about this on a few shows. It's really, really tricky to break into that top 15, even top 20. And then, it's just such a risk. Like there are really, even outside of those first 15 or 20 picks, you're still looking at a lot of established value, not just pitchers everywhere. And you'd be taking a big chance for the health side of things with Rocker. He throws very hard. You never really know what a guy's going to look like, as great as he did look yesterday. And as much as I think he is going to be an ace, I think that you're probably right. SP3, maybe if you're getting cheeky SP2, but I think he's probably should be SP3. We'll see how excited people get over the course of the offseason. Jackson Chourio had himself a game. He became the first member, or not the first member, the youngest member of the 2020 club in MLB history. It's been a little bit of a shaky season for him. He started off pretty well, and then he went through a bit of a cold stretch, and then he's just really turned things on in the second half of the year. 71 runs, 71 ribbies, 2020 with a 272 batting average. Are we firmly thinking he's a 3rd rounder at worst, Bubba? Is there any chance he's getting outside of the top 50 picks in drafts next season?
No, he should not be. This guy, he should not be getting outside of those 50 picks, I should say. He's a 2nd rounder for me, 3rd if you're lucky. He's 2020. We saw he's got 30-30 potential. It's a kid. He's 20. I say kid. He's 20 years old. Legally cannot drink in the United States of America. And he's out there, slow start. He was like platooning for a second there. Then, shocker, after more reps, a young kid starts to figure things out. He started producing, and the last couple, month or 2 have been amazing for Jackson Chourio. I think he's an absolute stud. They've moved him towards the top of the order, which has helped him and hitting with William and company up there. So I'm a big Jackson Chourio fan. I think he's very, very worthy of a 2nd round pick. And it's going to be the big debate this whole offseason. Jackson Chourio, Jackson Merrill. While some keep forgetting Wyatt Langford shouldn't be that far behind that, but it'll be fun for sure.
Yeah, in that early draft you did, I'm pretty sure Langford went a few rounds behind those other guys, right? He was kind of forgotten about a little bit.
Yep. Yeah,
I
Langford
could, I could,
round 9 or 10, and these guys both went in round 2. Like, it was a big, big gap.
yeah, I think if that's the gap, and if that's what's happening consistently, then I'll just wait and take Langford because I don't know that
100%.
there's that much of a difference in terms of the long term projection. It's not been the greatest season for Langford. It's like 10 homers and what was it, 13 steals or something. It's been underwhelming, but if I'm getting him 70 picks later than these other guys, I'm going to take that every single time. But definitely a group of guys that are all potential, if we're looking to head to 2026, which I know it's crazy, but those guys could all be top 30
Oh, yeah.
picks
Easy.
easily. Let's move on to talk Nestor Cortez, though, who's been a bit up and down this season. There was a while where Nestor Cortez was unstartable in the middle of the summer. He was brutal, but he's kind of turned things around yesterday. 5 solid innings, 9 strikeouts with 1 earned run against the Red Sox. He's down to a 3.90 ERA, and even maybe a little bit more surprising, a 1.15 WHIP over 168 innings. Has he done enough to get you interested again for next season, Nestor, or has there been enough concern this year that you'd kind of just want to avoid him in 2025?
Nestor's always been a guy I like. The inconsistencies are annoying as all get up, but I think after you start talking SP4, SP5s, you're going to have a lot of inconsistencies, but the ceiling that Nestor brings, playing on a good team that should lead to wins, the fact he strikes guys out, that's always one of my big things I look for in my later pitchers is, there's going to be a lot of warts on these guys later on. As long as he can strike guys out, we can, play the matchups hopefully and see how it works. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's the goal. So I am a Nestor fan. If he's healthy, that was kind of the concern coming into this year was the health. So he's proven to stay pretty healthy this year. I'm not saying I'm going to force myself to draft him, but he will be on the radar. Like if he's available at the right price, I will take him.
I think I will as well. It really, and I mean, we get ourselves in trouble this time of year talking about potential prices because we have no idea what the hell is going to happen. But I feel like if Nestor Cortez is like, I don't know, in the 100 to 120, 130 type of range overall, does that sound about right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the high range. I'd hope for lower if I'm picking, but I could see that happening just because he gets the Yankees tax and all that kind of fun stuff. So,
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
in a perfect world, in my mind, 120 to 130 is where I want Kumar Rocker to go. So that's where my head would be. But I'm always like more cautious with my picks, and it doesn't always work out for my interest.
I don't know if we're getting Kumar at that price. We'll see. Maybe if
Nah,
you hop
probably
into
not.
an ESPN league or something, you might be able to get a price like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah. Just maybe a November draft, you might have a chance.
it's going to be tricky, especially if he keeps up what we saw yesterday. I want to touch on Sonny Gray a little bit. He faced his old team in Cincinnati yesterday. 6 innings, 1 run ball with 9 strikeouts, 2 hits, and 2 walks. The thing with Sonny Gray that's kind of come out of nowhere a little bit is the strikeouts to some extent. Like he's been a solid strikeout pitcher for the last several seasons, but 27, 24, 24%. He's up over 30% strikeout rate this season. But one thing I do want to point out is the swinging strike rate is at 13%. If you guys don't look at swinging strike rate consistently, it's the rule of thumb is you can kind of double it by multiply it by 2, and that's kind of like an expected strikeout rate. I feel like he's probably not a 30% strikeout rate guy going forward, Bubba. Any concern drafting Sonny Gray next season, heading into his age 35 year, coming off of maybe a bit of an overperforming season? Any concerns for you there long term for Sonny Gray?
Age is always a concern. There's no like hiding from that. 35 is getting pretty up there for a starting pitcher, but I love him this year. This is back to like a couple of really good seasons in a row. When he went to Minnesota, pitched well. Is he a 30% K guy? No. But if you look at all his underlying like ERA indicators, he's even better than what his numbers are showing. His K to walk's been great all season. He's pitched really, really well. And we've seen these last couple of starts, the indicators are starting to show in his favor. So I'm still a big fan of Sonny Gray. Pitching for the Cardinals isn't going to hurt. That's going to be a plus, just being in that division and all the other fun stuff that goes along with that ballpark. So I like Sonny Gray. I think he's a really, really good SP3 with a little bit of SP2 upside because he's not flashy, but it's not 30% K, but I believe he could be 24, 25%, and that'll still be very, very serviceable going forward.
Yeah, I agree. You got to worry about a guy getting older a little bit, but Sonny Gray is not usually somebody that gets that much helium. I don't know if it's just because he's been around for a long time, and honestly, like the surface numbers, 3.75 ERA, that might be what some people look at, and maybe he doesn't get pushed up as high as I think. But yeah, just I feel like that strikeout rate is going to come back down to earth, but he should still be a pretty interesting target considering where he's likely to go. Sticking in St. Louis for a second, Mason Wynn hit a home run yesterday. And he's actually been a really nice value shortstop this season. 13 homers, 11 steals, 72 runs, only 50 ribbies. You're not going to get a ton at the top of a mediocre lineup, but he's also hitting 272. Bubba, what are your thoughts on Mason Wynn going forward, heading into next season? Is he somebody you'd target as a starting shortstop? Is he somebody you'd want more as a backup, middle infield type of option? What's your comfort level as of right now?
With Mason Wynn, I liked what we've seen this year a lot. In some of my preseason talks, like my team previews, I had Matt Thompson of Prospects Live on, and he's huge on Mason Wynn, but he admitted he's like a year away. Like this was kind of the get comfortable year. And we're starting to see as the season goes on, like you mentioned, he's starting to get comfortable, which is good to see. So I'd still prefer him as a middle infielder for 2025. But you and I recapped the first 11 picks the other day on Bench with Bubba, and shortstop goes really, really early, and then it gets really, really bleak. So if you miss out on the early run or you don't want to be aggressive on the early run, I'm cool with Mason Wynn being your starting shortstop because that means you should have done better things with your other picks to make your team work out. So I'm not opposed to Mason Wynn as a shortstop. In a 15, he's definitely a shortstop. 12 team, 10 teams, maybe not. But I do like him, period. I wouldn't mind him on my roster, but preferably middle infielder.
Later option that gets you a decent batting average is always going to be a little bit appealing to me. Generally, batting average dries up so soon, but if you're getting somebody who not a ton of power, not a ton of speed, but somebody who won't really hurt you anywhere, who's going to hit in the 270, 280 type of range, that's potentially very, very appealing for me. I like Mason Wynn, and shout out to Ben Tidd, who was somebody that was very interested in Mason Wynn, our mutual friend Ben. Let's talk Marcus Semien a little bit. It had been kind of a down season for him as a whole, but he's picked things up recently. He hit a home run yesterday. Over the last week, 3 home runs and a couple stolen bases, and he's probably going to finish as a top 100 overall player. I've heard a lot of conversation about Marcus Semien over the last couple days about where he should come in second base rankings in terms of where he should go overall in the draft. Is he a top 5 second baseman, top 75 overall pick at this point still, or what's your concern level as he continues to get older, somebody who depends on volume to get by for fantasy? Are you going to be interested for 2025?
If the price is right, and in that early draft, he went past pick 75, that's for sure. He fell a ton in that draft, and I almost ended up taking the chance on him. But at that time, he still wasn't hitting. This recent hot streak's been very, very good to see because he's been hurt a lot this year. He's getting older. This is what happens when you get older. The thing that made Semien so great was racking up at bats, playing 162 games a year, getting over 700 plate appearances. That's what made Marcus Semien who he was. And we've all said if he doesn't do that, the production's obviously not going to be what you want for a second round pick. Now, if he drops into rounds 8, 9, 10 or whatever, he's very serviceable. So he's not a top 5 second baseman, but if the price stays in that 8 to 10 round range, very, very serviceable second baseman going forward.
Yeah, I think I'll buy a dip. Like you said, like it has to be a decent enough dip, and if that's what's going to happen consistently, if he's going in round 6, 7, 8, 9, he's been a top. What was he going this past season in the 3rd round? I think a lot of the time. So I'll take that dip, hoping to get in on a bit of a bounce back. It's been just a terrible season for Texas as a whole, but I feel like they could kind of bounce back all around next season. Just wanted to mention Aaron Judge. He's in the midst of the longest home run drought of his career, 16 consecutive games without a home run. Anything to make of this, Bubba, or is this just a random variance of baseball in your opinion?
I'm going to give it random variance of baseball. The weird thing is with Judge, he could be hurt just because he's got that tendency, but he's going to play through it right now because it's the stretch run. I'm just going to say it's, Soto was ice cold until about 3 games ago too. So this team's kind of going the way of the dodo, it seems like, as they get towards the end of September. So I'm gonna rack it up to a slump, which is crazy, because we haven't seen Judge do that.
Never in his career, even as a rookie, the longest drought he had was 15 games. But the curse of Paw Patrol appears to be alive and well right now for Mr. Judge. If Bobby Witt Jr.
Great episode.
I am childless, so I have not seen this episode. But the thing with the American League MVP race is that Bobby Witt actually had a chance to kind of make up some ground here, but he's been stone cold himself. If he had done his usual thing over the last couple of weeks, then this could have been a little bit more interesting. But I feel like it's still probably going to be Aaron Judge's MVP as of right now. Let's take a couple of questions. I got a couple of them starred here. Let's start with one from Harry in the chat. 3-year keeper league. Do I keep Kyle Schwarber or Josh Naylor? Where are you heading on this one, Bubba?
Schwar bombs, and I'm a Josh Naylor fan, but you keep Schwarber in this scenario.
I think I am too. Like the 3-year thing kind of worries you a little bit, but Schwarber's a lot younger than I think a lot of people realize. He's like 31. He's been around for a long time. I think people and he looks a little bit older than he is. I think people probably think he's like 33, 34, but he's younger than you'd expect. Naylor, we have seen the downside recently. I love Josh Naylor. Don't get me wrong. We grew up in the same area. Love the guy, but I think it's Kyle Schwarber here for me. Someone offered me Hunter Brown and a 10th round pick for is that Rooker or Rocker? No, it's Rocker and an 8th round pick. I think I'm probably going with Rocker, but it's close, man. Like that might just be me reading too much into the recent sample size here. What do you think, Bubba?
If it's like a dynasty keep forever league, probably lean the Rocker side of it. But if it's just like get a couple years or certain policies in place, Hunter Brown's really, really good too. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
Like the dude's he might not be far off from Rocker, and you get the 10th round. But see, I think I want the 8th round pick in a keeper league. It's already so shallow when it comes to drafting. It's like round 5, you're literally throwing darts at a wall. So round 10's a little rough. I think Rocker and an 8th rounder is pretty nice.
I think I am taking Rocker there too. Don't want to be prisoners of the moment, but man, he could be a Cy Young winner. Like he really could be that level. I think there's not many pitchers who possess an 80 grade pitch of any kind. His slider is that good. And the fastball movement is like he's just so good. Like we're not prospect guys, but just the eye test yesterday was like my dad, who barely follows baseball at all, was watching this like, holy crap, this guy's pretty good. I was like, yeah, he's pretty good, Dad. He's pretty good. Let's talk about Tommy Edman versus Parker Meadows. This one's kind of interesting. I think it's Tommy Edman for me, probably. Bubba, I know you're not exactly the Tommy Edman fan club president, but where are you going on this one?
I'll go with Edmund on this. I got a whole lot of flack from Ryan Bloomfield on Bub and the Bloom on Thursday night because I am anti-Edmund, but he's back-to-back double dom games. He's hitting 4th or 5th daily for the Dodgers, and we're talking about 2 weeks. If he's streaking right now, you ride the streak. I love Parker Meadows. I would take Parker Meadows in the draft ahead of him next year, but for the final 2 weeks, give me Tommy Edman.
I think you got to, yeah. I think you have to. Like, it's close. Like, I love Parker Meadows so much, but middle of the Dodgers lineup with what he's doing, it's hard to go against that. Drop Tristan Cassis for Paredes or Horwitz. Could probably do for Horwitz maybe, but I mean that's such a crazy thing to say. Just thinking about where Tristan Cassis was a couple months ago, but I think that's an all right move to make.
Tristan Cassis is platooning now, so it's a very good move to make. He's not playing at all versus lefties. What I would say, though, is check your waiver wire. You got Ty France with 6 games in Cincinnati next week, or Carlos Santana plays 5 or 6 righties next week, and Santana's been great. I'd take France and Santana over Paredes and Horwitz. So check your format. Otherwise, if it's just these 2 guys, give me Spencer Horwitz.
Yeah, we'll mention Spencer Horwitz again in a second. But one other question. Strider, should he be a top 3 SP? I'm assuming this is talking about 2025. If he comes into spring training healthy, he maybe should be, but I don't know if he will be. Bubba, where are you at on this one?
Yeah, I can't do it until I see him healthy. Like for me.
Cut out there for a second, but yeah.
It was a no. It was a quick no.
Bloomfield's having some fun here.
Yeah.
Is this AI generated Bubba actually touting Tommy Edman? He is in fact touting
on back-to-back days. Yes, dead sober too.
On back-to-back days. This is what I'm doing to Bubba. This is what happens. Let's do a little bit of playoff prep. Just want to talk about some fringier 2-star pitchers for next week. Depending on your format, these guys might be an automatic yes or an automatic no, but we're going to talk about them briefly anyway. Merrill Kelly at Colorado, at Milwaukee. Hasn't been the greatest stretch for Merrill Kelly. At Colorado worries me a little bit. Are you rolling with him in, let's say, 12 teamers here, Bubba?
Yeah, I'll take Merrill Kelly in this one. Colorado doesn't scare me. Milwaukee scares me more than Colorado. So yeah, I'll roll Merrill Kelly out there.
Yeah, I think I probably would. Maybe not in really shallow leagues, but I think 12s and beyond is probably okay. Aaron Savali, this one is tricky. Versus Philadelphia versus Arizona. I think I'm leaning no, just based on the trickiness of the matchups, Bubba. Maybe in 15s, I'd maybe consider it, but I think generally I'm leaning no here.
That's a no for me. You can throw him back to the waiver wire and pretend this year never happened.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to pretend this year never happened for Aaron Savali. Jake Irvin coming off of a decent start after what had been kind of a terrible stretch for him. Not a bad couple of matchups at the Mets, at the Cubs. I feel like I'm probably going to roll with him if I need some volume here. He's not a bad option. What are you thinking, Bubba?
When I'm looking at this matchup, I'm really not a fan of Jake Irvin. I was a fan early this year. He was great. I think he's hitting his wall innings wise. We've seen this with young pitchers. I would avoid this two step.
Yeah, if you need volume, I think you could do worse. But I think generally speaking, I kind of agree. The only reason this guy is even getting mentioned, this next guy, is because of the matchups. But it's probably a no, even with the matchups. Bobby Miller at Miami versus Colorado. It's about the most cupcake two-start you could possibly imagine, but Bobby Miller has been garbage. So any chance you're starting him here, Bubba, even in 15s, would you roll Bobby Miller?
I don't think the Dodgers are starting him next week. Let's put it that way. Glass now supposed to come back Thursday. I don't think Bobby Miller's in the rotation next week. But even if he is, that's a no. I am not going through that chaos. It's just not worth it.
So just briefly, heading into next year, he's going to be
Nope.
dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. No, you don't want him?
If he's dirt cheap, I don't think he will be though, unless it's like a Yahoo or a CBS. Like in the NFBC leagues, people are smart enough to know the talent's there. The kid's been hurt / a mess. Could he figure things out? Like it'll be a discount from this year, but not as big a discount as I think most people think.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. I think in the average league, like you mentioned, if it's Yahoo, ESPN, CBS, Fantrax, he might not even get drafted in 12 teamers. He's going to have like an 8 something ERA, a 1.7 whip. In those NFBC leagues, he's probably going to get taken, but I wonder if I'll be tempted to take the dip. He's looking at the strong stuff numbers and everything like that. I wonder if there's an injury. I feel like there's got to be something
He said
wrong with him.
his knee's been bugging him, but I think there's more than that. It's
Even
so
just
bad right
beyond
now.
that, it's got this. I feel like there's got to be something more. Let's talk about a couple of hitters who are also probably some guys you should consider picking up. Spencer Horwitz, who we already mentioned, he's been really, really good. We're both pretty interested there. 40% rostered on Yahoo. For the deeper league players, Otto Lopez, second base, shortstop eligible. He's been really, really solid for them recently. He's batting typically in the middle of the order, last 3 games, 4th, 2nd, and 4th. It is Miami, but Otto Lopez has been pretty good. Even over the last month, he's hitting 300, 4 stolen bases in that time. You got any interest in Otto Lopez, Bubba?
Yeah, in deeper formats, if you need a middle infielder, go for it. Like there's Sajasi from St. Louis as a middle infield option. Trevor Story's probably widely out there for middle infield, but Otto Lopez in a deeper league is definitely viable.
Dylan Cruz is also somebody that I think should be more rostered than he is. 40% feels like we're selling him a little bit short. I understand that football is here and people are kind of done with their leagues if it's head to head and it ended early, or if you're in 11th place, you might not be making pickups. But Dylan Cruz only on 40% of rosters. He's been really solid. I mean, the batting average is only 241, but in 58 at bats, 3 homers and 6 stolen bases. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive, Bubba. Is he an all formats type of guy for you, or is he more of a deeper league play?
Yeah, he's definitely an all formats type guy. You can run him out there unless you have one heck of an outfield. That's where you want to be going.
I also want to mention Victor Robles, who you'd think would be on more rosters based on how he's done this season, but he's only on 24% of Yahoo rosters. He's a top 10 player over the last 2 weeks. 16 for his last 35 with 6 stolen bases. He's playing every day in that leadoff spot in Seattle. Not a good park, obviously not a good lineup, but I think Victor Robles should be on a lot more than 24% of rosters at this point.
100%. He's back leading off. He's hitting almost 500 over the last 13 games or something, and he's got 8 stolen bases. Yes, he needs to be rostered everywhere.
Somebody else I want to mention for the deeper league crowd is Kyle Farmer. I know that this is a bit of a niche one. 1% rostered on Yahoo, and that 1% came over the last day or so. But if you look over the last couple of weeks, he's doing really good things. He's not an every single day type of player, but he's on a 5-game or a 6-game hit streak right now, actually. I'm kind of intrigued for deeper leagues if you need a bit of a utility option here, triple eligible. Any interest in Kyle Farmer, Bubba? I know this one's going to skew for the deeper crowd, but what's your interest level here?
Yeah, if you're in a deep league, he fits the mold. Like this is a guy I draft and holds all the time. He's starting for me in leagues right now for this exact reason. He's got that multi-position eligibility, which as we finish the last couple of weeks could be tremendous with weird injuries and guys sitting. So yeah, I think he's a very, very viable option.
Didn't think we'd be talking about Kyle Farmer as a viable option, but that's the ups and downs of the fantasy season. Sticking in Minnesota for a second with just a weird one here. I think everybody kind of saw this once Jeff Passan tweeted out yesterday. The Twins released minor league catcher Derek Bender, who's their 6th round pick this past year. He was caught tipping pitches to the opposing batters, and his reasoning was that he wanted the season to hurry up and get over with. I feel like we can all relate to some extent there, but I feel like throwing your whole career away might not have been the smartest move there. This is really surprising. The first thing that my mind went to was, are you able to bet on single A games? Because this has got to be some kind of game. Gotta be. I don't know where these books are that are taking action on single A games, but that feels like that's got to be involved somewhere. What was your reaction when you saw this, Bubba? It's probably the craziest story I've seen this year.
It was very bizarre. I thought I was watching like Major League 7 or something when this is taking place. But yeah, because it makes no sense. If you want to get the season over earlier, why are you telling them what to hit? Like that, things like that would prolong the game, is what I'm kind of thinking. But yeah, it's a weird one, and it's wild to think you've played your whole life, you finally get drafted, you're in the bigs, and you're gonna throw it away like that. That's just, you're a catcher, man. These are long seasons. That's the reality of it.
I was a minor league baseball player, never at not a high level, but you dream of making it to the show. You make it to the show, you get drafted, and then you throw it away within 6 months because you're bored or something. I don't know. I can't get my head around it. Just wild one. Wanted to mention that there. It was in the just for fun segment, but I didn't even know where to place it really. It's just a weird story. Right up there with the took a Peter Marcano story. Agreed, Angelo. Let's go to the 3 up and 3 down. Brent Rooker continues his incredible season. A combo meal yesterday, stealing a base for you as well as hitting a home run. Frankie Montas, 6 innings of shutout ball with 8 strikeouts, allowed a couple of hits and picked up a win. And then Mitchell Parker, bit of an up and down rookie season for him, but if you streamed him yesterday, you did well for yourself. 6 1/3 with 5 strikeouts and 3 hits of shutout ball. On the 3 down, Carson Spears, not good stuff. 2 2/3, 7 hits, 3 walks, and 4 earned runs. JP Crawford, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And he also took one of the more ridiculous swings I've seen. Him and Jorge Polanco were just swinging all over the place against Rocker. It was pretty embarrassing stuff from the both of them. And Crawford, I didn't even realize he's batting below 200 this year. Like, it has been awful for JP Crawford. Ryan Pepio, 2 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, and 2 earned runs. Not what you were hoping for him this time of year either. On the either up or down segment, Bubba, any of these 6 names really stick out to you in any way?
Just want to highlight Frankie Montas. Since he's joined the Brewers, he's made 8 starts, 50 strikeouts in 45 innings, 3 earned runs or less in 6 of the 8 starts. So he's much more formidable than I think people want to give him credit for. And JP Crawford, he's moved down to like 7th or 8th in the order, and he can go. Go get Kyle Farmer instead of JP Crawford.
Yeah. It's awful. Like, JP Crawford was a great fantasy asset last season as a late shortstop, middle infield guy, even like a utility bench option. This year has been awful for him. Let's move on to the injury updates. A bit of a scary one here, a scary name to see on the injury report. Tariq Skubal was hit in his glove hand by a comebacker on Thursday. Did stay to finish the inning, and he's listed as day-to-day. Any concern here, Bubba, that this could potentially lead to Skubal having to miss a start down the stretch?
Yeah, I saw this news last night when I was doing my stuff, and I was like, what in the world? But they said x-rays were negative. They don't expect him to miss time. It happened earlier in the game, and he finished the game, pitched 6 strong innings, like you mentioned. I would imagine he's fine. Then again, he's already kind of hitting those innings. So maybe they're like, hey, we got a reason to kind of shut you down for the year, kid. You've already got the Cy Young. Let's call it good. I don't think it slows him down, but definitely something to monitor going forward.
Yeah, for sure. If it does lead him to miss a start, that would not be great, especially for those head-to-head managers this time of year. That would be pretty bad. Speaking of bad, Corey Seager, season finito. We already pretty much knew this was coming, but he underwent sports hernia surgery. As of now, he's expected to be ready for spring training. Do you think this will impact his price heading in the next season at all, Bubba?
I always want to say so, but it seems like Corey Seager always has an injury, and people still take him in the 2nd or 3rd round of every draft. And I just avoid, and it's burned me like once, I guess. And it's nothing against Corey; he's a great player when he's on the field, but he's just never on the field. So, weirdly enough, I don't think it'll affect his draft price because he should be ready by opening day. So I don't.
You're probably right. Question in the chat: how did he get hit on the glove hand? Isn't that just getting hit on the glove? I actually, admittedly, did not see it, but I would imagine it was just a ball that hit on the outside of the glove or something, and it was hit hard enough that it did hurt his hand.
Look at his next comment.
Oh, near the wrist. Yeah, I actually did not see it. I just saw it on the injury report there. But I'll take a look at the clip and we'll talk about it
like
again.
If anybody's played baseball and someone throws the ball hard or whatever, or I played first base, you get a line drive and it hits you in the palm of the glove. The glove ain't that thick, folks. It's still gonna hurt like a mother. So yeah, that's probably what took place there.
You're probably right. On some cheerier news, Jacob deGrom, we've mentioned him a couple times this week, but it's today, folks. His first start in 503 days will take place against the Mariners. I'd imagine, I'm not the biggest DFS player anymore, but you might get a little bit of a discount first start back. No?
No,
No?
I think I
Was he full priced?
top of my head, he's 85 or 8,600 bucks, which I guess is technically a discount from the normal DeGrom, but you're only expecting like 4 or 5 innings, so it's not really a
Yeah,
discount. Like
that's
Rocker
fair.
was 85 last night too. Like they're they're not coming out like Brasso's 4K tonight, so that's who I'll be playing. But sorry to turn this into a DFS segment.
Hey, you know what? I love DFS. I wish it was more accessible here. I'm in the one place in Canada, in Ontario, where it's very hard to play DFS. They've made it very difficult over the last couple seasons. There's only one or two niche places where I can play, but I miss it. I do miss playing DFS as much as I used to. Liam Hendricks shut down for the remainder of the season, likely to be shut down. That wasn't like 100%, but it looks like we're trending in that direction. A little bit of a setback in his recovery from Tommy John, and they figure there's no need to risk it. I wonder if Liam Hendricks ever gets a closer job again, Bubba. Is there a chance that maybe he's the closer in Boston or somewhere else next season? Will you be speculating on him in drafts as if that's going to be the case?
I think is Kinley still there next year or no? That's the only thing I gotta check. I feel like he is, but I could be wrong. If Kinley's not there, then yes, Liam has a chance to be the closer. I would not be shocked there. I think he's gonna have to prove himself for a year though, like or at least half a year. Like Liam's gonna have to come back and put some innings out there and show he can bring the goods again, and then he will be a closer again sometime. Though we've seen the volatility of closers in baseball; they get paid. Like if Liam just wants to get a paycheck, if he pitches good next year, Colorado could sign him and he can get paid. It might not be the best case scenario, but he'll get his money and everyone's happy.
I wouldn't be happy if he's the Colorado closer. I wouldn't love it. I mean, I'd still take it, but
He'd still get
I
you
would
30
prefer.
saves, so it would work.
True. That's true. As for Kenley, he is a free agent after this
Okay.
season. He's also going to be 37 years old later this month. So I wonder how much time we have left on the Kenley train. It'd be interesting. I'd like to see Liam Hendricks, after all he's been through. It'd be really cool to see him get a closer job back and return to he was like a second, third round type of player for a few years
He
there.
was awesome. Yeah.
He was amazing. And the Blue Jays, of course, had him and let him slip through the cracks before. But we won't get into that because I'll be here all day. Chas McCormick was placed on the IL with a fractured wrist. Season is more than likely over, which is a shame because as awful as he'd been for most of the season, he'd actually started to pick things up a little bit over the last couple of weeks. But it's overall a very disappointing season for Mr. Chas McCormick. Any thoughts on him there, Bubba? Will you buy the dip next season?
I doubt it. In a deep, like a draft and hold, I don't mind him as like a deep outfielder just to add depth to my bench. If he figures it out, it's great. In a redraft league, I doubt it because Jake Myers should get the job over him starting the season, and they have other options for now. If injuries take place, he's a fab target, not a draft target.
I think you're probably right there, unfortunately. I had big expectations. I
So
thought
did
he was a
I.
2020 guy, easily a 2020 guy, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen throughout the course of the season. But let's move on, Bubba, to our favorite part of the show, and that is the best bets of the day presented by our friends over at Bet365. Again, use that promo code leading off. Get yourself some goodies here down the stretch. $5 gets you 150 in bonus credits. Bubba, where are we headed today on your best bets?
All over 1.5 total bases. That's what we're keeping it simple here. We're starting Lane Thomas over 1.5 total bases. Great matchup for the Guardians on Friday. Thomas is actually swinging it very well, multiple hits in a handful of the last 4 or 5 games. So he's plus 140 over 1.5 total bases. Carlos Santana going to keep going to that well. They have a great matchup in Minnesota. Carlos has been multiple hits in a lot. Like last Wednesday, he had a hit and 2 walks. So like he's still getting on base. So this is kind of the bummer, but it's the best odds I saw out of his props. So he's plus 130. And I'm going to keep riding PCA. He didn't come. Well, he half came through. He got the total, the hits, runs, and RBIs on Wednesday. Didn't get the run scored part. So yin and a yang. But over 1.5 total bases. Cubs are in Coors, folks. It's plus 120. Austin Gomber's coming off the IL. I wanted to take a lot more Cubs props, but it's going to be a bloodbath in Coors this weekend. Maybe not Fridays. Might sometimes takes a day, but give me PCA at plus 120. So all plus odds as usual.
You are the plus money man, as I have coined you, and I'm sure Ryan will eventually take that term and use it as well on your show. But my bets, we've mentioned Jacob deGrom. I've talked about him ad nauseum at this point. Over 6.5 strikeouts is plus money today. That's kind of where the buck
fun.
stops for me.
That's
Kumar
fun.
Rocker in 4 innings got the 7 strikeouts. It's the Mariners. This team is, I'm sorry if there's any Mariners fans watching. They're pretty much a joke offensively. Anybody could go in there and rack up a decent number of strikeouts. But DeGrom, 6.5, it's not a crazy number at plus money. I just couldn't pass it up. Landon Knack as well on the strikeout over against Atlanta. It's just a very low number at 4.5. It is at minus 120, but this is a number that I feel like he can pretty easily hit. And Atlanta is a team where I feel like there's still the narrative around them that they're the Braves. They're a tricky offense. They're really not that great offensively. Landon Knack's coming off of an 8 strikeout game against Cleveland, a team that does not strike out that much. So I'm pretty confident that he can get to over 4.5 today. And then Seiya Suzuki, like you already alluded to with the Cubs, the Austin Gombering, that's probably going to be happening tonight. Seiya Suzuki over 1.5 total bases. It is juiced to minus 160, but you want to mix those in all together, parlay them or something, you'd get some better odds. But that is where I'm headed. Bubba's at Lane Thomas over 1.5 total bases, Carlos Santana over 1.5 total bases, and Pete Crow Armstrong over 1.5 total bases. I'm Jacob deGrom over 6.5 strikeouts, Landon Knack over 4.5 strikeouts, and Seiya Suzuki over 1.5 total bases. Bubba, it's time for the home runs, and we are on fuego. Both of our home run calls hit on Wednesday. The teams that we were targeting, the Cubs and Arizona, combined for 22 runs on Wednesday, so we nailed that one. Where are you headed today for your call?
Well, you just happen to have a prop bet on Seiya Suzuki, I believe. I'm going with Seiya Suzuki going to town. I almost kept Cody Bellinger just to keep the streak alive for the week, but I went to Seiya. He went deep on Wednesday as well because everyone hit a home run on Wednesday. But yeah, I'll go Seiya Suzuki, who's actually been red hot over the last couple of weeks, and enjoy some Coors Field fun.
I love Seiya. I love Seiya Suzuki. If that early draft you did is any indication, maybe he'll be slighted a little bit heading into drafts next season. If he is, I'll take any dip. I love the guy. All he needs is to stay healthy, and he can easily be at worst, a top 100 player in fantasy. I'm going for James Wood today against Edward Cabrera. A couple of games consecutively for Edward Cabrera not allowing a home run. That's just not who he is. He is due to give one up eventually, and James Wood, I mean, I could go for a couple different members of the Nationals today, but I think I am leaning towards James Wood, considering how solid he's been. The power hasn't quite been what I was hoping for. He hasn't hit a home run the last couple of weeks. I think he is due to break out of his dry slump today, the same way that Ketel Marte did on Wednesday when we hit that one. Bubba, let's keep the hot streak going, my friend, as we head into the weekend. But that will do it, folks. That is leading off for the week. Any final thoughts, Bubba, before we sign off?
Everybody have a great weekend. Make sure to do your fab when it matters. Got a couple more weeks to grind on that one. Don't be afraid to drop people you've been clinging to all year because they might not be benefiting you when you need them the most the last few weeks. But good luck, everybody, and we'll be back with you guys to start next week.
Yeah, we'll see if Welshie's around. You'll get one of us for sure. We'll see because football is a busy entity at FantasyPros this time of year, all year round, really. But you'll have either one of us in Welsh or both of us in any event. Make sure you guys are subscribing. If you are on the podcast feed, we'd really appreciate that as the season winds down. We're still going to be here producing content. If you are on the YouTube side watching live, hit that thumbs up, hit that bell, hit the subscribe, do all that great stuff. There's a laundry list of things you can do to help out, and it just involves a couple of clicks. We'd really appreciate all of it. But that will do it, guys. We will be back again on Monday. But until then, take care and best of luck because it is head-to-head championship weekend for a lot of you. Wishing you all the best, but we will see you again on Monday. Cheers.